Okay, today I'm going to get a bit philosophical. Me getting intellectual, I know, but never mind. Um, I'm talking about today's subject because I'm seeing some things that are very worrying in the world, especially with younger people. And that is the base emotion of hate. Um, I'm seeing a rise with younger people who are suffering from problems that are evidently derived from anxiety, leading to depression sometimes, or what they feel, anger, and this is from hate. Now, I find it quite interesting. I've spoken to a couple of younger people about this who are, admit to having a few issues. And if it was one or two, I thought, it does seem to be quite widespread, not only in Brazil, but in the UK as well. Now, for some reason, younger people are feeling hatred towards different things. And from what I can tell, it's different from, they're telling me it's their generation, it's something their generation is feeling. And the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm beginning to understand why. So I'm going to, so the OED, Oxford English Dictionary, defines hate as an emotion of extreme dislike or aversion, detestation or abhorrence, severe hatred. Now, I'm very curious as to why this is. I mean, I get annoyed about things. I get angry. Not always on the podcast. You know, sometimes I'll say things. I'm trying to emphasize a point, which is what podcasts should do. I certainly wouldn't encourage anyone to feel hatred against us or anyone else, but to go away and consider what their emotions are, what they're feeling, hopefully, to calm the situation down. But what I'm seeing now, I'm seeing the use of hatred, and we've seen it before in human history on more than one occasion. And it's been used by certain individuals with influence, I'm not saying whom, to divide, to make us feel anger towards things or certain elements in society, certain ideals, and to feel hatred about it, distrust. Not always directly. I will give you one example, labelling people in a certain way, labelling a subsection of society, not always a small section either, especially now, which is again setting people against each other. Now, younger people are very, very vulnerable to influences, especially now. And I'm not talking about the very, very young. I'm talking about people, young adults are the people I'm talking about, who have gone through some education, some other feelings. Obviously, they've been exposed to something that your and our generation didn't really have, certainly not at the beginning, and that was the use of widespread media, such as the internet, which we're ironically talking on now. Yeah. Which, yes, can have some things said. But prior to that, there's always been issues. When printing was first invented or created, not invented, created or widespread, the ability to circulate widespread printed media, we had the same issue. And some of them, if you read some of the pamphlets from the 16th century, it's 16th, 17th century, they were quite similar to feeling hatred, distrust this, distrust that. What do you think about this? In a very direct way. You must believe this. Propaganda, in other words. And again, there was concern at the time about these. And when you read them, you can see what it is. And yeah, lots of direct. I'm not saying it was always incorrect what was being said on these pamphlets, but it's the way that the message was being said. not properly explained. So I think for the first time in history, though, I think whereas it used to be regional, when I'm saying this, it was in France at one point, England, across other parts of Europe, where printing started. I mean, obviously there were things used to happen in Rome with things. They had the ability to spread things. I mean, when you see some of the graffiti in Pompeii, etc., there was anger, and it was being used by, as I say, people of influence. I think it's the first time in human history where we've all got the ability to have influence somehow. We're all able to express an opinion globally. What we all have to do is sit down and maybe learn how to use this new medium. Yeah, I mean, there's other things that I'm concerned about that probably will explain during the conversation. But yes, so really, I am very, very concerned, not necessarily for people of my age. We get annoyed at things, we get anger. I saw people before me do that. That's a normal human reaction. Normally it comes up, goes up, and it comes down again. It's probably a good human reaction to have. It releases the stress, as it were, and then you can go into rational thought then. There does seem to be a move to stop us having rational thought. I don't know what your feelings are about this, Steve. Over to yourself.
Whilst you were chatting, you've seen me moving around.
Yeah.
Just to get a piece of paper and make notes here quickly. Look, why does it seem to be a new wave of this way of thinking? Is because the youngsters are coming through their education system in waves, right? So the next generation of sixth formers are going to be taught, and then in a couple of years, they're all going to be released into the society. And it's how it's been this last since I was a kid at school.
Yeah.
I went into the sixth form. I broke free after 1 year. And I didn't complete the 2 years. I stayed in the sixth form for 1 year, and then I went out and got a job. So education is one of the. I remember at school, everybody's got their favorite teacher.
Yeah.
Everybody has a teacher that can influence the pupils. And once that teacher has got the confidence of the kids, then whatever that teacher says for them goes.
Yeah.
I had a good relationship with one or two of my teachers. One teacher had an outside of school relationship because of the interests that I had. Incidentally, that this teacher showed me, which was the folk music and the dancing and this. So that's when I sort of got into the swing of things with that part of my life. And so teachers, they influence you. Of course they do.
Yeah.
They're perhaps the uncle that you never had. They are perhaps they're taking on the role of your mum and dad. We see these days where this thing about the trans, that the schools now are saying the teachers, that teacher that you confided in is saying you don't have to tell your parents, you just do what we want. And that there is a huge mistake when it comes to when the relationship stops being a healthy relationship. That's when that's when it hits the fan.
Yeah.
I think. So that's the first thing. Education. The teacher is not there to form the mind of the child. It's the 3 R's.
Yeah.
Right. Reading, writing, arithmetic. Yeah. And if there's anything that comes after that in a healthy sort of way, then that's fine. It's fine. To indoctrinate kids saying that they're being oppressed. I mean, if the teacher's telling them they're being oppressed, they're going to come out of school saying, I'm being oppressed.
Yeah.
You know, that's the first thing, right? When we were kids, we used to have what are called shock jocks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
On the radio. James Whale.
Oh yes.
One.
Yeah.
Right. I still watch James Whale.
Mm.
He's not old. He's riddled with cancer, bless him.
Is he? Oh, wow.
But he's a little bit tamer. It's a bit tamer.
Yeah.
And it's But however, you know, when you got a shock jock speaking to people who are just ordinary people on the phone line, phoning in because they need somebody to talk to, because they want to appear, and just being ridiculed and being cut off.
Yeah.
That's a form of ridicule and hate.
Yes.
You know, albeit a fabricated hate.
Yes.
You know, you're boring me now. You're boring me now. Goodbye.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and you know, you can't. Nobody does that in real life.
No.
Really,
no. I'm not. Yeah.
You've got to get really, really annoyed before you say that to somebody.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
So you know that's what the media has offered us, right? And a certain part of society will go with that. I know that I did. We'll go with that because it is funny.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not for everybody. That sort of humor is not for everybody.
Of course
right?
not. Yeah.
And also on TV, the sensationalism on TV, you know, that's got to be brought down a little bit as well.
Yes.
And also in the news, the headlines that are sensationalists are too sensationalists.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, saying that the world is going to end tomorrow if we don't do this and we don't do that.
Yeah.
And somebody who's got an open mind, a young, innocent, open mind, is going to read the headline. And if they're anything like the great majority of newspaper readers, they're just going to read that headline and perhaps the sub-headline.
Yeah.
You know, then they'll leave the article there.
Yeah.
And they're going to come away thinking, well, you know, the world's going to end in 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, so that there is a contributing factor. It's not the factor.
No, there's always a lot.
All of these things, you've got to put them all together, and then you'll see a picture forming. The next thing on my little list that I wrote down that while we were chatting is, and you said it, the need to be seen, the need to be heard. Sometimes, what was it, that film where the bloke threw open his window and he says, I've had enough. He says, I know what to tell I'm not going to take any more. There's a famous film of somebody, I can't take any more. He threw the window open.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've had enough and I'm fed up of this or something like this. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what a lot of people want to do, but they don't. Yeah. But of course, they don't throw the window open and scream.
No.
But they need this outlet to let off steam. And a lot of them don't have it.
Yes.
They don't have it. That's why you get these youngsters shooting skulls up.
Yeah.
Because they don't have an outlet for them to let off steam, to have an open, free discussion. Even if it comes down to a shouting match, that's okay. It's still a discussion.
It's communication.
It's better than nothing at all. And of course, when you shake up a champagne bottle and the cork's still inside, it's going to explode.
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the big differences in recent years are opinionated news programs, where the news reader will give you what the story is.
Yes.
And then he'll give you his opinion on it. If the opinion is good or the opinion is bad, doesn't matter.
No.
Because there's somebody who's listening or watching who's not going to agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Instead of letting the audience make up their own mind,
Mm.
the news program is trying to instill their view
Yes.
on the audience member, and it's a lot of pressure, especially if you don't agree with what the guy or the lady is saying to you, because
Yeah.
that community is only one way. You know,
Yeah.
we get this on GB News,
Yeah.
on Talk Radio, and channels like this, where they are the news comes at the top of the hour.
Yes.
Right. That lady there, or that gentleman that gives the news bulletins at the
Yeah.
top of the hour, that there is the news.
Yes.
The rest of it seems to be opinion.
Mm.
And if you can either side with the opinion
Mm.
or dislike the opinion. And
Yeah.
if you're the people that dislikes what the people are saying, and but there's no way you can say to them, but you're wrong, and this is
Yeah.
why you know.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
you get that pressure again. You get that pressure again.
You are at that point a passive observer. Yes. And I don't. Yeah, I'll be quite honest. I've stopped watching so much of these now. I like to be informed, whatever
Yep.
informed means. Yeah. And I don't think I'm ignorant, but yes, I've toned it down a little bit watching. The trouble is, yeah, I watch a lot of segments as well
Yes, of
sometimes.
course.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you watch these. I won't say it's sound bites. I mean, sound bites are always a dangerous thing, and that has been used as well to initiate hatred as well of certain characters. And
Yep.
I don't like to say both sides of the divide, but yes, I'm going to use it in this case. Both sides of the divide, if you like, media, both do this. They play a short clip of either
Yeah, of course.
the
Well,
target.
because they do it consciously. A lot of them
Yeah,
do it
yeah,
consciously or subconsciously. Why
mm,
subconsciously? Because if you're the receiver of the information, either
yeah,
you agree with it or you
yeah,
don't.
yeah. I mean,
You know,
um,
so and there's no way that you can tell them
yeah,
why you think
yeah,
that they're you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, okay, this is what the idea of in the UK we've got Ofcom. Okay, at the moment, this is why GB News have to have a counter argument on there against it. I mean, GB News is it has its direction, and it's not like people try and liken it to Fox News in the US, and I'm not going to get into that, but it's not quite there.
No.
But yeah, they have sometimes quite an extremist opinion the other side to balance it, which is not always the way to do it. And yeah, I watch it, and yeah, this isn't helping. But again, it's people of our age group what watch this, and we can disseminate. Oh, we can dislike that, and then we go away and forgot about it. You know, oh, I disagree with that person. It's when you read the comments sometimes on there. Why is this person on there? Well, the idea of this person being on there is to induce a reaction from you.
Well, you know, the
Yeah,
thing is, Matt, when you get to a certain age,
yeah,
you don't accept your news
yeah,
source
yeah.
from just one source.
That's it. Yeah,
You know, you're a little bit more pragmatic, you know, and you start to read things. You might read the whole article instead of just snatching the headline, you know, and saying, "Wow," you know.
but I think people like you and me, we don't scan read. Yeah, we don't. But we do. We look at things and then we go back and say, I disagree with that. But yeah, okay, that's a good point on that. We're people that can have our minds, opinions change. Let's put it this way. I wouldn't say our minds. And
Only if there's a piece of information that I didn't know about
yeah,
that all of a sudden comes to the front.
exactly. Yeah,
You know, and then well, I didn't know that, and so now,
yeah,
yes, well, there's
yeah,
different opinion.
yeah,
But the thing is that not everybody's going to hear that piece of information that comes
yeah,
later.
yeah. And this is a danger for me. And it's like you say, it's a sensationalism. And these youngsters are being, yeah, I've seen it quite close hand. I've seen it other places. In fairness to a lot of younger people I know, they do ask my opinion. They might not agree with what I say, and I say that you don't have to agree with me. I'm not here to educate you, not like that. My remit's slightly different. I do advise them to sometimes, if they've got a bit of a concern about something, to maybe talk to someone else who's a bit closer to them, or is trained to deal with certain issues as well. Yeah. But I'll always give an opinion, because younger people need that, and that alternative opinion given in a rational way. Not, you will believe this, or I can't believe you believe that. There's a reason why, yes, sometimes a younger person will believe something.
And I think, to be quite honest, Mark, if a young person is brought into an adult conversation,
yeah,
with adults,
yeah,
then they feel more mature.
yeah,
And I can say this to you because remember the teacher I told you about that we spoke and all this. Well, when we were in these places, all of the other people involved were all a lot of, they were all this teacher's mates.
Yeah.
And so I was sort of brought into this fold of mature people, and all of a sudden, hey, I'm an adult, even though I was 14, 15 years old at the time.
Yeah.
Bringing the children, bringing the youngsters in an adult conversation with adults is always, and you can see this even if you watch some telly programs where, like, I suppose Question Time, not so much because it's much of an us and them situation, but you've got these sort of telly programs where you've got a group of kids and a group of adults, and they all want to have this conversation about something in society. When you see the kids asking questions or making comments, they're quite mature the way they speak, and that's what I'm saying. If you bring the youngsters into an adult conversation with adults, especially if adults have got different sides on the eye, and keeping the language simple, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah, yes.
Everybody can understand, and then that, it lets the young person grow. I keep on saying child. At my age, anybody that's below 20 years old is a child.
Well, I get that. Yeah, I mean, it's like, when I'm doing what I do, you soon learn. For someone over 12-year-old is no longer a child; they're a young adult or starting to develop that way. I mean, I do think this is the problem, and a lot of youngsters are getting more and more isolated. And it didn't just happen at COVID; it was starting to happen before that. It's like to say that I've seen a change in things. Yeah, people were spending. I mean, as kids were spending more time. Kids or younger people were spending more time at home on their PlayStations than they were out.
Very isolated.
Yeah, and now we've got the other thing. I mean, WhatsApp or other things where they're all communicating remotely from each other. And when they are having an argument, and we know this as adults because we've seen it. It's us as adults. Sometimes you have a snap comment on WhatsApp, and it's disjointed. It might be a flowing conversation, it's still disjointed. And this again worries me with the youngsters. Now, I am beginning to see signs of real youngsters, I say real youngsters, are beginning to ignore the technology in it and wanting to have a more personal dialogue as well. There are a lot coming off Instagram and other things because they're saying it's toxic. Even TikTok. I've seen quite a few comments about this. I don't know statistics. And maybe they want a real world experience. I mean, but the papers have been, building up. This week, for example, there was a thing about Taylor Swift and some other woman. Some other woman supported a certain individual that Taylor Swift didn't. Supposedly, I don't know that much about Taylor Swift. I know she's friends. I've got a boyfriend who's a sports personality. Quite good. And they said, they're sat separately. So again, it's whipping it up. Or they hate each other. So again, the language is hate. Even with some of the podcasters that we follow, it's destroyed. This person destroyed that person. I've watched the clip, and it's getting back to what you say. Headline. No, they didn't. They just had a disagreement. And yes, we've got to be careful with the language we're using maybe with each other, especially now because it's disjointed. It's distance. Yeah.
this brings me on to the next thing.
Mm.
And this, I think this was a case years ago. I'm not
Mm.
too sure because I'm talking about the media of TV now.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of violence on TV
Yeah.
now, because that brings the threshold down
Yeah.
of emotions of a child. The more violence you see,
Yeah.
sorry, it brings the threshold up.
Yep. Yeah.
You accept more violence, you accept more violence, you accept more
Mm.
violence. And this is not necessarily somebody hitting somebody else in the face
Yeah.
on telly.
Mm.
This is also about language,
Yes.
using violent language, which is something you just touched on by,
Yeah.
these people saying that he tore apart another person.
Mm.
Listen to this comment, and
Yeah.
if the comment's a witty comment, then even I'd laugh at that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
if
it.
it's
Yeah.
a good takedown, that. But I mean, if it's just taking somebody down for the sake of taking somebody down,
Yeah.
it which basically is, as you said, is disagreeing with somebody and showing
Yeah.
where the other person is not correct.
Yeah.
The language to introduce that,
Mm.
instead of saying somebody explained to somebody else the reason why his thoughts might not be
Yeah.
correct, is
Yeah.
he dissed him and took him down. He took
Yeah.
him down.
Yes. It's yeah. And yeah, we've done big. Obviously, we know that's the kind of language that grabs and everything else. It doesn't grab me anymore. It's like I said, I'm not so much online anymore or listening. But but that brings me on to another note I've got here. Is about hate speech. The definition of hate speech, which is going about a lot at the moment. Now, the Oxford English Dictionary, okay, hate speech, speech expression, hatred or intolerance of other social groups, especially on the basis of race and sexuality. Yeah. Okay. None of us, you and I, don't like direct, I say destruction, but do not like to see other people humiliated in a very aggressive way. There can be banter. Now, where the definition of banter is, and where the definition of hurt or people being offended is, maybe the two are combined. I mean, the idea of telling a joke about someone or something is to be offensive. It's up to the other person to be offended by it and to really, really create. I mean, somebody could be as open saying, I don't think that's particularly funny. Okay, can you please stop? That's one thing. Yeah. But when you go get people that are going to a comedy show and the comedian is known to them, must be known, and then deliberately sitting there and going, I don't think you should say that. I thought, do you not understand this is comedy? Yeah. That comedian might not actually believe what he's saying. And let's get back to the shock jocks and people like that. Yeah. You should know what you're getting into before you go into it. The removal of humour as well, I think, is adding to hate. If I can't joke about you, what else have I got left? I came from my career was hard engineering almost. If you showed that you're actually, and I've done it, showed you're upset by something, you've got it even more. Yeah. And this is part of, if you like, having social interactions with people that are not remote. You begin to learn not to be offended. And even if you are offended, you don't show it. If somebody accuses you of something, that joke and they're laughing. Sometimes you find that people that joke the most about you will then come around to support you when they see it's gone over, particularly older people.
When I was a kid, if I took offence, if somebody said something to me that I heard so many times, that just say, grow up, grow up, grow up.
Yeah. They
say, be a man, be a man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Is that all you've got? Is the other good one? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you could, as somebody once said to me, if you look at someone and smile and just wink at them, that really does, you're not going to get to me. I mean, it's like the boxer, or we watch combat sport, getting hit on the nose and going,
Smiles.
Yeah.
You
want to do it? You want to play? Yeah. I mean, again, I've learned not to take offence. I mean, yes, there have been cases where you've seen that. I've walked away from a situation where I may start to feel a little bit angry and therefore hate, and I don't want to feel that. So if I distance someone, it doesn't mean I hate them at that point. They're pushing it, but it's then moving myself from that, and it's not going to affect them. It's not going to affect me. If you're going to push it, then maybe you want to see what happens. Yeah, the F about and find out sort of scenario, which is the generation we came from. Yeah. And yeah, I've seen fights between friends, and then 2 days later they're talking again to each other.
Well, that's what friendship does.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, verbal. I mean, yeah, believe it or not, people. Yeah, but Steve and myself occasionally on here have disagreements, but we don't shout at each other. We don't hate each other, admittedly, but yeah. Much, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Probably time to why did he think that? But yeah, no, I mean, I don't talk about Star Wars here, because Steve one day passed a comment about Star Wars that, you know, it's very offensive to me. Sorry, Steve, but, you know, it offended other people.
And he just did.
Yeah, unfortunate about, yeah. But yeah, okay, Steve probably has a point. Yeah, I probably agree with him. Yeah, the idea of a film is have padding in. A story that's about 10 minutes long, then lots of padding. Yeah, that's where we disagree on things sometimes. But yeah, it's actually a joke among Star Wars thing to people now. Yeah, if this had happened, this had happened. Beginning credits, one line, end credits. But yeah, but again, yeah, I mean, the classic one is, yeah, but again, Star Wars was all about the messaging there was actually good and evil. And then the turning of hatred into love, respect. Yeah.
Almost all rom-coms are like that.
Yeah.
All rom-coms have got the same format, where the girl doesn't like the bloke, she thinks he's really bad, and in the end, he wins her over, and then they get married and live happily ever after.
Yeah.
All rom-coms are like that. It's the chase part of the rom-com that's the funny part, it's the interesting part. But anyway, that's not to do with
hatred. Yeah. Well, it is and what isn't. It's the opposite of it. But yes, I mean, it is I'll say it's a raw emotion. I do think some celebrities have even said everyone's got to calm down at the moment. I'm afraid younger people have been brought up, you're quite right, to feel a certain thing. Sometimes even things we consider quite normal. It's all built up with younger people to feel anxiety about it. And as I say to them, the world is the world. And I'm going to be quite blunt about this, and it's not out of a place of hatred. Our leaders, our elected leaders, are going to have to start showing a bit more example, lead by example with this.
Yes,
not by labelling people, not by attacking people, to explaining things.